Thank you, Ambassador Jazeri. We are always delighted to be a part of any process that you are a part of, because you bring it a great deal of energy, a great deal of passion, and a great deal of work that goes into the preparation of this meeting. I'd also like to thank His Excellency Mr. Dr. Hanif Hassan Ali Al-Qasim for bringing forth, for being here with us today, and for being an active part of the discussion and the think tank discussions that take place on issues that are of critical interest to us, to Pakistan. And may I also add, as coordinator of the OIC working group on human rights and humanitarian issues that are very critical and important to OIC countries as well. So we are delighted, and thank you very much. And thank you for having Pakistan to be a co-sponsor. We are delighted to be a co-sponsor, and we're delighted to be a part of this panel. We are very humbled by the presence of such important speakers here. We've been asked within the context of today's discussion to identify the convergences between Christianity and Islam on two main issues: citizenship rights and minorities in different parts of the world, as well as implementation of Resolution 1618 and citizenship rights. May I inform you, Ambassador Pikte Altan, that the Resolution 1618 had a predecessor resolution called the Defamation of Religions, which has been quoted in the background paper which has been circulated. That resolution had a reference to Islamophobia, to anti-Semitism, and to Christianophobia. So the word was there, and there was a discussion that took place and ensured the inclusion in that resolution of those important concepts and important realities. Today, if we address the issue of citizenship rights and minorities globally, then we need to go beyond the relationship of Christianity and Islam. In fact, we need to go beyond viewing this issue from primarily from the perspective of religion. It is true that in the recent years, the issue of citizenship rights has been brought to the fore by the situation of Muslim communities in Europe and in some other parts, and other communities in some other parts of the world. And in that context, interaction between Christianity and Islam is a factor, particularly in Europe. But it is only one amongst a complex of factors. As you said, historical, political, economic, cultural, and demographic factors are probably of greater significance. Let me elaborate this point. The increasing strain on Muslim minority communities in many European countries clearly does not arise from theological disputes. Indeed, as has been pointed out in the very useful background documentation of this event, and the copious literature on Christianity and Islam, there exist major commonalities between the two Abrahamic religions. There are, of course, differences as well, but these only assume salience when other factors, primarily political and economic factors, come into play. Political factors may include perceived policies of aggression of governments of adopted countries against home countries, especially when these seem to be a continuation of past colonial policies. Economic factors may encompass a sense of exclusion and discrimination on the part of minority communities, and on the part of the majority community, a sense that excessive resources are being diverted to the minority community to the detriment of their economic well-being. Where these factors exist, religious and cultural differences are exploited, unfortunately today, without shame, without scruples, by political figures to garner political support and make a bid for political power. This dynamic has been unleashed in this part of the world where we are sitting. It is also being witnessed in a depressingly large number of countries in many other parts of the world. So what is to be done? I would argue that if we were to secure even the basic rights of minority communities, let alone achieve equal rights for them, then we must keep an unrelenting focus on the fundamental economic and political drivers behind the worsening situation of the minority communities. The economic anxieties and the political concerns of both minority and majority communities need to be addressed frontally, without any equivocation. Failure to do so simply results in surrendering political space to the more extreme elements. We have with us Director General IOM, Ambassador Swing, who has spoken of these issues, and we'd like to hear his comments later as well in this regard. While I would maintain the primacy of political and economic factors, it is true that in many cases these factors have been submerged by a poisonous religious and cultural rhetoric. Hence, the immediate challenge in such cases is to urgently counter the rhetoric of prejudice, of difference, and of exclusion. We should respond to this challenge by resolutely engaging in rights-based discourse, drawing upon universal principles embodied in Christianity and Islam, and indeed many other religions. The operationalization of Resolution 1618, which Pakistan tables on behalf of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation at the Human Rights Council, would be an appropriate place to give effect to such a rights-based discourse. And in this context, the measures that could be taken would be: 1, setting up an observatory within the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights to catalogue instances of hate speech and xenophobia, as well as instances of minorities-directed violence. 2, regular reporting by all member states on efforts undertaken to implement Resolution 1618. 3, setting up a mechanism, especially a special rapporteur to address the issues reflecting in 1618. And we have amongst us today the Ambassador of Egypt, who took a very important and leading position last year in trying to see if we could have a special rapporteur in the context of the Resolution 1618, which is entitled, for your information, Combating Intolerance, Negative Stereotyping and Stigmatization of and Discrimination, Incitement to Violence and Violence Against Persons Based on Religion or Belief. And then a comprehensive debate within the Human Rights Council to assess the implementation of Resolution 1618, following up from a report by the Special Rapporteur, would be very essential. We agree that there is the idea of a world conference is a good one. We need to have further discussions on it and see what the agenda would encompass. I take this opportunity to talk about one issue which is very important for Pakistan and which is taking place here in Geneva today. There is an insidious propaganda that is being carried out by some NGO that we do not know about, that has pasted posters of some little exhibition that is being held somewhere we don't know. And the posters say, Christians being threatened in Pakistan. We don't know who put up these posters. We don't know what their objective is, other than an insidious propaganda maligning the 200 million people of Pakistan. Unacceptable. And on top of it, the Swiss territory is being used and is being allowed to be used to set up these posters. One poster, we understand, costs 22 Swiss francs an hour. And it's been put up for the last 2 weeks and will continue for the next 1 or so week. Where is the money coming from? Why is Pakistan the only country that's being attacked? You look at Pakistan, we have a book that we published a few years ago called The Churches of Pakistan. We have thousands of running churches, most of them Catholic, a few of other denominations. Hence, it is totally unacceptable that in the guise of freedom of speech, which we've been told it's in the guise of freedom of speech, that Pakistan is being attacked in the streets of Geneva without anyone telling us why, and why this propaganda can continue without any action being taken and without a knowledge of who's put up these posters. Unacceptable. In Pakistan, we have a Christian. I have been educated in a convent, and proud to be educated in a convent. When I was in Rome, I went to every mass in St. Peter's and enjoyed every time there was Christmas in Rome. It is totally unacceptable that we as a people are treated and painted in such a manner. And the propaganda continues here, and nothing is done in this regard. This is what the Muslim world faces today, and this is what we suffer from today. ISIS is not Islam, ISIS is not Muslim, and ISIS is a word we will not accept to be used. What does ISIS mean? ISIS means Islamic State. Why not Daesh? Just use Daesh. The minute you use the word ISIS, Islamic State, the rest of the world thinks we as Muslims are barbarians. We as Muslims go and do the horrible things that Daesh does. Totally unacceptable. There was a conference that was held here again last year called Preventing Violent Extremism. At that conference, on behalf of the OIC, we went and said, unacceptable for us to term any group of people that do such stuff, which is an antithesis of Islam, to be called the Islamic State or ISIS. Thank you.